Coming up on First at 4, one Eastern Kentucky organization hands over the keys to a home to one flood survivor in Breathitt County. And more twists and turns today in the race for Speaker of the United States House of Representatives.
Plus, we are tracking soggy weather tonight and tomorrow. Those details coming up as Mountain News First at 4 starts right now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4 on WYMT's 38th anniversary. A flood survivor got the keys to her new home in Breathitt County today. Folks came out to celebrate the occasion as it marks the Housing Development Alliance's 16th home for flood survivors. This as efforts to rebuild Eastern Kentucky continue across the region. Executive Director of the Housing Development Alliance, Scott McReynolds, says they were able to fund this house and others they are building through the Team Kentucky Fund.
So if you remember, after the disaster, people could call and donate money to help. We were really fortunate to get a very early allocation for 6 houses, and so this is one of those houses.
Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman was also there to give the new homeowner the keys. She says witnessing this means a lot. We will have much more tonight at 6. More Kentucky school districts have officers at public schools. That's what the state school security marshal told lawmakers in a legislative task force today. Ben Wilcox also recently toured the site of a school shooting in Florida. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on the testimony from the state capitol.
There are more than 1,000 public school campuses across Kentucky, and there was a state law several years ago requiring a school resource officer in place on each of these campuses. There's been a lot of work done to make sure that is reality, but more work is needing to be done.
We've got to continue to keep our mandates. We can't slack at all with that. And that's, I think, one of the important things about our office going in and checking and working with schools every year is that reminder is always there.
The mandates were put in place after the 2018 shooting at Marshall County High School. The law requires each school campus to have a school resource officer. Districts are still working to comply with that, and 758 schools are covered. Wilcox told lawmakers on a campus security task force that schools are keeping their exterior doors closed and interior classroom doors locked during instructional time.
You know, not shutting your door during instructional time can be dangerous, but it's one of those things that we always have to remind ourselves to do. And so that's what I see that we need to continue to do, and we need to come up with new ideas.
And Wilcox told Kentucky lawmakers that the two things that are hurting the progress to put SROs in place on every school campus are funding and personnel. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Wilcox says in traveling the nation, he's been surprised to see the number of states that do not have their own centers for school safety and other measures Kentucky has put in place since the Marshall school shooting.
We are tracking some dry but gloomy weather across the mountains for this afternoon, but rain chances are on the way by this evening. Also, as we go into tonight, here's a live look from the WYMT studio. And again, we are cloudy. That temperature also mild in the middle to upper 60s across the mountains. So we are close to average, up to 68 for London, also Somerset, 70 over in Wayne County at Monticello, and 65 in Jackson at this hour. Up on the radar, we are dry, but notice those clouds do continue. Also tracking some showers over central Kentucky, and they will continue to push off to the east as we go into this evening, also as we go into tonight, all thanks to this cold front that is pushing into western Kentucky at this hour. So those rain chances are set to increase as we go into tonight, also tomorrow. The good news, no severe weather, but some beneficial rain is on the way for the second half of your work week. As we go into this evening, those rain chances set to increase. Not going to rain all night, but you could see a few showers at times, and some of those showers could be a little bit heavy as well, and those lows back in the middle 50s as you wake up on Friday. And once again, more rain chances on the way on Friday before some cooler and drier weather for this weekend. Those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan is telling GOP colleagues he would back a temporary U.S. House Speaker until January as he works to shore up support to win the gavel himself. But after failing twice already, no third vote is planned. Jordan delivered the message at a closed-door meeting of Republicans at the Capitol. Some members of Congress have reported receiving death threats during the process to elect a new speaker.
Well, those are terrible. You know, there's no place for that for anyone. Look, it's just wrong.
Without a speaker, the House remains unable to vote on bills for the foreseeable future. Congress has less than a month to pass a spending bill to keep the government open, and President Biden is expected to ask Congress for $100 billion in aid for security needs, including Israel, Ukraine, and the southern border. Coming up on First at 4, the National Weather Service presents its long-term weather prediction for this winter in the U.S.
And some beneficial rain is on the way by tonight, tracking that soggy weather after this break.